Give me some volume and go full screen.
What you know now, do you wish you had a third term? You know what, if I could make an arrangement where I had a stand-in, a front man or front woman, and they had an earpiece in, and I was just in my basement in my sweats looking through the stuff, and then I could sort of deliver the lines, but somebody else was doing all the talking and ceremony, I'd be fine with that.
We know he wasn't really running the country.
Yeah.
We used to think he was actually running the country, and now they're like, no, he didn't even see those executive orders. That was all auto.
Divorce rumors continue to escalate for the Obamas. Hopefully they can settle it like men. Terrible that you would applaud that.
Barack Obama didn't exactly fade into retirement. He traded the presidential podium for a Netflix microphone and a mansion by the sea. Now he's cranking out memoirs like mixtapes and handing out wisdom from a throne built on contradictions. But guys like Joe Rogan and Greg Gutfeld aren't buying the performance. They're ripping through the glossy image to reveal a legacy that looks impressive but feels empty. This is the roast where charm collides with harsh reality and somehow still scores a production deal.
I get a glass of water? I'm serious. I'm thirsty. Can I get a glass of water? This is not a prank. You never seen it?
No.
Oh my God, it's amazing.
Oh,
it's amazing.
no.
He gets a glass of Flint tap water, and I swear to God, he drinks it like this, like this.
Problem
He's
is solved.
bullshitting the world. Watch this.
Can I get some water? I really did need a glass of water. This is not a stunt.
Usually when something isn't a stunt, you have to say
It's
that.
100% a stunt. When was the last time a president stopped a speech to ask, can I get a glass of water? What? They would never do that. They would have water ready for him. No, you bring a fucking water on stage.
Is Obama gay? Needing attention over an old letter. What? I should read that again. Anyway, no, we'll just keep going. The New York Post obtained a redacted portion of a handwritten letter the former president sent to his then college girlfriend, Alex McNear. Alex, eh? Back in 1982. He talked about his, quote, androgynous mind and wrote, and I'm quoting Obama here, I make love to men daily, but in the imagination.
Obama strolled into history armed with a pen, a teleprompter, and the swagger of a man convinced that hope could double as a policy plan. It's almost poetic. Someone could speak so beautifully for 8 straight years and still manage to say almost nothing at all. His presidency felt like one long TED Talk, only with Secret Service standing guard. He delivered lofty speeches with hollow results, while a legion of fans applauded like he'd just discovered the cure for cancer every time he flashed a grin.
Michelle Obama surprised fans on our new podcast by saying her pet peeve about her husband is that he's chronically late. For example, we're still waiting on him to admit he's from Kenya. And as for Barack's pet peeve about Michelle, he's mad that she keeps leaving the toilet seat up. When she cleans it. When she cleans it.
Then there's Joe Rogan, circling the narrative like a shark picking up the scent of blood in a nostalgia-soaked ocean. If you've ever wrestled a bear on mushrooms while debating quantum physics in a sauna, you basically know Joe. He looks back at Obama's time in office and doesn't see a statesman. He sees a stand-up comic who landed a Netflix special without a single good punchline. From the first, let me be clear. Rogan knew there wouldn't be any clarity, just the political equivalent of interpretive dance. All motion, no meaning.
You know, he was roasting Trump in the audience, and you could see Trump in his head going, okay, I'm going to run now. Like, that might have been the thing that got him to run.
No one is happier, no one is prouder to put this birth certificate matter to rest than the Donald. And that's because he can finally get back to focusing on the issues that matter. Did we fake the moon landing? What really happened in Roswell? And where are Biggie and Tupac?
That one moment where Obama was talking to him might be the reason why Trump was like,
Greg Gutfeld shows up with that trademark smirk that says, I'm about to dismantle your image using nothing but sarcasm and a can of Red Bull. And Obama gave him plenty to work with. Here's the guy who snagged a Nobel Peace Prize before even moving his bags into the White House, then spent years ordering drone strikes across the Middle East, while Hollywood royalty cheered him on. It was like watching a pacifist win a UFC title before the first round, only to jump into the cage swinging a folding chair while journalists harmonized in the background.
President number 44 wants to help the left censor more. Former President Obama, if that's his real name, is launching a campaign to stop the spread of disinformation, which he called a real challenge for our democracy. And also for his former Veep, who's challenged by questions like, what's my name and why am I nude in the Rose Garden?
Rogan tears into Obama's foreign policy like a pit bull shredding a designer loafer. He's not politely analyzing diplomacy. He's calling it like a UFC ref watching someone tap out under a barrage of airstrikes. That infamous red line in Syria? Rogan sees it the way a survivalist looks at a broken compass. Useless and still somehow dangerous. Obama threatened Assad with the same force you'd expect from a school principal scolding a kid for skipping lunch. Spoiler alert, Assad didn't blink.
Because Obama said he was a jackass.
The young lady seems like a perfectly nice person. She's getting her award. What's he doing up there? He's a jack.
It's like, oh really? Well, you.
It was about the Taylor Swift thing.
Now, all this stuff.
That guy's a jack. It wasn't even that harsh of an incident. And he said it privately, and I think somebody heard it. I don't think he said it to be public.
I'm assuming all this stuff. Where's the pool? Come on, guys. Cut the president some slack.
Oh, here it is.
Seems like a perfectly nice person. She's getting her award.
Why would he do that?
He's a jack. No.
Gutfeld switches gears to the economy, roasting it like it's the driest Thanksgiving turkey ever served. He digs up the famous shovel-ready jobs promise and turns it into a Broadway farce. Shovel-ready? The only thing ready was the public's willingness to believe anything that sounded poetic. It was like ordering a prime rib and getting a scented candle instead. The recovery crawled out of the 2008 crater like it was still hung over from campaign season. And if success was measured by how often you could say recovery summer without bursting into laughter, Obama was on fire. Rogan couldn't help but point out how Obama cozied up to Wall Street while pretending to be Main Street's hero. The man strolled into Goldman Sachs events with the enthusiasm of a roadie who forgot his guitar but still demanded a solo. He bailed out the banks, let homeowners drown, and then strutted on stage as if he taught America how to swim. Politically, it was like robbing your neighbor's house and getting a thank you card for cleaning up the block. Then Gutfeld pulls out the healthcare scalpel. Obamacare, the crown jewel of his domestic agenda, was sold like a miracle cure until people realized it was basically a Groupon for bureaucratic confusion. They called it universal care, but it felt more like a choose-your-own-adventure book written by the DMV. The rollout was so disastrous, it made MySpace look like Amazon. And there was Obama, grinning through the meltdown like a wedding DJ who hadn't noticed the speakers were already in flames.
Let's admit it, America. We miss Barack Obama.
Juan does.
There he is. In a recent speech, he said he had no real scandals in his White House, the jab at Trump.
We didn't have a scandal that embarrassed us. I know that seems like a low bar. Generally speaking, you didn't hear about a lot of drama inside our White House.
No drama. So to quote the TSA officer whose dog just sniffed my carry-on, let's unpack this. So why didn't you hear much about O's White House? Well, who was brave enough to look? There was never a cozier relationship between a president and the media, ever. If the White House were a bed, the press was the mutt dose.
Joe sets his sights on the cultural chaos. Under Obama, America didn't just tiptoe into identity politics. It dove in headfirst like a kid cannonballing into a pool of Tumblr hashtags. Rogan, who thrives on uncomfortable truths, couldn't ignore how the man who promised unity ended up dividing people into more categories than a Whole Foods snack aisle. Gutfeld mocks the idea that you needed a decoder ring to unlock Obama's supposed genius, when really, you just needed the stamina to sit through an hour of polished nothingness without passing out. Then Rogan hits the surveillance state. Under Obama, the NSA didn't stop at monitoring terrorists. They were practically tuning in to Grandma's banana bread recipe. The guy who campaigned on transparency built a digital spy machine and handed the controls to the deep state with a wink. And yet, people cheered like he delivered freedom instead of a wiretap.
Obama during this Kamala Harris administration, it changed my opinion of that guy.
Boy. Really? Did you have a high opinion of him before?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I did just as an intelligent person, but watching him just straight up lie about Trump, the thing that got me was that very fine people thing, the white supremacist thing. They just kept trying to say that he was a racist.
Who said that there were very fine people on both sides of a white supremacist rally?
Which is this thing that I think worked in like 2017.
Yeah.
You know, I think it worked back then. I don't think it works anymore. I don't think people believe.
Gutfeld picks up the sarcasm paintbrush and starts flicking it like Jackson Pollock across Obama's legacy portrait. He zeroes in on the Iran deal, which felt like betting your life savings on a busted roulette wheel in Vegas. You hand billions to a regime chanting death to America, then walk away grinning like you've just scored VIP passes to Reason. Greg imagines Obama shaking hands with the Ayatollah, blindfolded, holding a pen while diplomats read from completely different scripts. And then there's immigration. Here's the man who deported more people than anyone before him while delivering speeches that sounded like bedtime stories for activists. Rogan envisions Obama standing at the Statue of Liberty, talking about hope, and then pulling a hidden lever that dropped thousands of dreamers through a trapdoor. It wasn't a sanctuary. It was a mirage wrapped in a press release.
They're doing. Or you go after other Democrats. Let the primaries start now. Go after Newsom. Or, go after Fetterman, go after somebody. The media will gobble that up. Or you go after some foreign leader. Take an axe to Chi or go after the cartels or something. Get yourself banned from travel somewhere, okay? Mm-hmm. And then go after some CEO. Go after some big fat cat CEO that's just like hurting his workers and just running up prices. Go after that guy. And then you go on Rogan and you laugh at yourself. That is the recipe for getting attention without going after Donald Trump. Because every time you clash with Trump, you lose, and you look like you don't care about the rest of the American people.
And we've talked a lot about how the Democrats are trying to find the answer to Trump. They're trying to find the analog to him. But part of Obama's comments, too, he said, stop looking for the quick fix. Stop looking for the Messiah. You have a great candidates running races right now. Just focus on what you have in front of you.
Yeah, but the thing is, I mean, if you listen to Obama and you look at these inorganic protests, they say you have to have courage, rally, act, resist, but they don't. For what? What is the actual issue? When Trump owns every issue 80-20 by almost every metric, from the economy to crime to immigration, where are you? The high ground maneuver of common sense has relegated it into more extreme measures. Ask Obama, okay, where do I apply this courage? What space do I park it in? Should I double down on trans dudes in women's sports? Should I back the attacks on ICE? Should I show
Gutfeld can't resist skewering the celebrity bromance. From Beyonce to Spielberg, Obama wasn't just governing. He was hosting prom night for the global elite. Every state dinner looked like the Oscars, just with a few more nuclear codes. Greg pictures him practicing his speech rhythms in front of a mirror lit by candles and the scent of Tom Ford cologne. This wasn't leadership, it was performance art with a jazz playlist and a fact checker on standby. And then there's Chicago. Rogan never forgets the city where Obama launched his career, all while ignoring the spiraling violence, failing schools, and poverty in his own backyard. Joe calls it out. You can't fly over a crater and pretend it's a garden. Chicago was living proof of everything Obama claimed to care about, while he did nothing but raise campaign cash and riff rhetorical jazz over the wreckage. Gutfeld closes in on the climate change charade. Obama jetted to environmental summits in Air Force One, only to leave with tote bags full of broken promises. He pledged green jobs like a kid handing out lemonade coupons during a blizzard. Meanwhile, emissions kept right on climbing. Greg jokes that Obama probably slapped a solar panel on his golf cart just to look virtuous at Martha's Vineyard.
Tweeted Obama, part of the reason it's hard to bring about change is because we live in a media environment that elevates falsehoods as much as truths and divides people as much as it brings them together. Through the Obama Foundation, we're working to empower and equip emerging leaders to tackle issues like the spread of disinformation. Of course, as plenty of people immediately pointed out, it was Obama's Democratic allies who cooked up the Russian collusion hoax. Or how about Nick Sandmann, hands up, don't shoot, don't say gay, or the Hunter laptop story. They're all stories where the public was shielded from the truth with help from the Democratic-friendly legacy media, who try to diss any information that threatens their narrative. And by narrative, I mean...
Rogan delivers the final blow with a post-presidency glow-up. Obama, now a global influencer with a podcast and a production company, lectures the masses on responsibility from the terrace of his oceanfront mansion. It's like watching someone who sold their soul for applause now sell motivational merch to their old fan base. You don't get to warn people about rising seas while sipping cocktails on a property inches above high tide. Greg doesn't skip the topic of race either. Obama had the chance to bring Americans together, to heal wounds, to prove we could be post-racial. Instead, he sprinkled division like Parmesan cheese over every issue. Gutfeld imagines him giving speeches like a philosopher, then ghostwriting the handbook for Twitter mobs. It wasn't about progress. It was about branding anyone who disagreed as morally defective, using poetic guilt as policy. Disagree with his healthcare plan? Congratulations, you were suddenly 3/5 of a citizen. Rogan doesn't ignore the arrogance, either the smug grin, the professor stare. It wasn't confidence. It was the political version of an eye roll. Rogan calls it Harvard swagger, where the IQ is assumed and the accountability is outsourced. When it came to criticism, Obama's skin was thinner than the economic recovery line in 2010.